How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 234 of the F and Marks podcast. I am Jay. Brainless One will be joining me shortly. Make sure, whether it's on the Facebook, whether it's on the YouTube, that you like, subscribe, and give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. It's really helpful for us, and we'll get into that. And that is the Brainless One, so I will bring him in on this, and we will get the show rolling. Let's see how this goes. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Cousin Jay?
Hey, not too much. So I have a new device in the house, so hopefully this will help clear up our signal. Maybe it'll make it look better. Maybe it'll make it sound better. Maybe you can see things better. Now, maybe it's not just my face you see.
I'll tell you this much. I don't know if I see I don't see the comments still, which is sad. But I could definitely see more of you, so that right there is a huge bonus.
Huge. All right, Brainless One, we had SummerSlam last weekend. A lot of things came out of that show. I'd say overall, general idea, what was your feeling on SummerSlam?
If there was one word that I could use to describe what SummerSlam was for me, it was anticlimactic.
Okay.
What about you?
I would say, I tend to agree. I would say matches themselves were, mostly fair to good. There weren't matches where I'm like going, like, what they did with Ronda and Shayna was a bit strange, and I don't know if it worked well with a wrestling audience. And I think there could have been things that could have been better about pacing on that, but all in all, I thought the matches were fine, but I agree. Like, when you had Jey Uso be the person going against Roman Reigns, it's like going, okay, this is a few years after that initial confrontation where Jey wasn't sure he wanted to side with his cousin. And here we are all these years later, and yep, that crack that was there from the beginning was still there. And, part of the healing of that was his brother.
Right.
And Jimmy coming back was the thing that ended up leading to it coming together. And Jimmy coming back this time led to further fracturing. But I don't know, it felt like retread and lazy for the end of that match. They could have gone a million different ways, and they went that way.
I think between the fact that it was anticlimactic, like you said, is exactly like with that whole story with the main event with the tribal combat that they did. But it really felt like the rest. I mean, between that and the fact that it just felt predictable. And I know that you and I did our predictions last week, and we only got a couple wrong. But for the most part, everything else was really predictable. I called that Jey Uso was going to get involved, and he was going to cost his brother. Jimmy Uso got involved, and he was going to cost Jey the match.
Yeah.
We both knew that Logan Paul. I mean, it was as clear as day that Logan Paul was going to win. The same thing with Gunther, and
right.
It just all in all, the card was just very predictable. And the one or two elements of unpredictability that they did was the whole handling of the women's championship match and that triple threat.
Yeah. And so for specifically the triple threat, that was the longest on record women's match in SummerSlam history. And I don't believe it's counting the cash-in. I think they said just the match alone, with it being over 20 minutes, was the longest women's match they've ever had. So,
wow.
Yeah. All right, Chris Brown saying, and after SummerSlam, Heyman used a baseball analogy to describe where they're at in the storyline and said they're in the bottom of the third, which to me says this is going until WrestleMania 40. Dude, Chris Brown, I hate to break it to you. They've been doing the storyline for 3 years. If they're in the bottom of the third, we have 6 more years. Basically, what Heyman's saying is he's going to pass out Bruno Sammartino. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
That's exactly what I'm hearing too. If he's saying the bottom of the, because I saw that quote too, and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't. The math isn't mathing right now, because we're already in. If that was the case, the bottom of the third would be year 3 of 9 years as champion.
Right.
And the only thing that I can guarantee is if the podcast is still going on, and I fully intend for that podcast to still be going on 6 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Axel will still be alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Oh, there's zero doubt in my mind about that.
Yes.
Of course he's going to be alive.
In the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, at that point it'll be 2029 and he'll be in the Royal Rumble for 14 years. He's going to be like Rip Van Winkle. He's going to wake up one day and be like, what happened to it all?
Hell, Jay, at that point, he's going to be at like 5,000 days.
Right.
And then he'll definitely retweet that tweet.
I mean, he passed 3,000, so
yeah,
it'll be great. It'll be great. So.
And honestly, it does look like they're going to have this end at WrestleMania. If the reports are true that Roman Reigns did actually get hurt in this match, I'd be curious to see where they go going forward. But the other thing I wanted to take away from this, or I took away from SummerSlam, in a positive light, was how they booked a Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar match.
Yeah.
They didn't need to have a 30, 45-minute brawl. They got it all done in like 15 minutes. They told a great story. We're going to overlook the fact that Cody grabbed the stairs and used it to attack Brock with and not get called for disqualification because the referee was right there and saw it as clear as day.
Yeah.
Threw him in the ring. They did the back and forth with the Kimura and the freaking F5s. And Cody, when Cody hit him with those 3 crossroads, like he hit him and then they picked him up and hit him a second time. And when he was trying to get him up for that, I'm like, there's no way. Brock's he's going to find a way to reverse it, pick him up, F5 and matches up. No, he hit him with the 3rd one. And Cody was victorious. And after the match, Brock broke kayfabe a little bit, or went against the script, or whatever you want to call it. He went and he shook Cody's hand. He raised his hand up, showed him to the crowd. We don't know exactly when the story is going to end because there's a whole bunch of stories that are just kind of intertwined with each other to tell this one great story. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, Cody Rhodes will be the man who dethrones Roman Reigns.
All right, Chris Brown saying, creative license, brainless one. Those stairs were modern-day poke of doom. Laughing my ass off. You know, outside of that little thing there, it really was a well-constructed storyline, you know, from beginning to end, from Brock beating the hell out of him and not wanting to partner with him going against Roman Reigns, you know, all those months ago on Raw, to having now these 3 matches where, you know, Brock was dominant in the first 2 and even dominant during most of this match, but Cody ended up, you know, having that Rocky Balboa fighting spirit.
Hey, yo.
It just refused to stay down. I really like this match. I'd say it's probably my favorite match of the night.
I agree. And nothing against Gunther, because I'll tell you right now, that was the one prediction that I thought I was making correctly that I was dead wrong on. He beat Drew McIntyre convincingly.
Yeah.
I have not seen Drew McIntyre get beaten that bad since the days of playing the air guitar with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal.
You shouldn't have hindered.
He hit him with that power. I said, it's over. He hit him with one. I was like, he's done.
Yeah.
Absolutely done. Wow, that was that was the most impressive victory. I loved the Cody and the Brock match the most, but Gunther was the most impressive of anybody on Saturday.
Yeah, I could jive with that.
Yeah?
Yeah. So as far as booking goes for Balor and Rollins, part of the match itself was more or less fine. Booking wise, though, if you're the head of a faction, if and one of your underlings has a Money in the Bank contract, don't you think you would have talked to them ahead of time and said, "Hey, you're not cashing in, right? No, not cashing in." And made that clear, and you get this thing in the ring, and he brings the Money in the Bank brief. Damian Priest brings the briefcase with him, but it was again kind of like a rehash of that last match. Where oh, is he cashing in? It costs Finn, and again, that felt like a bit of laziness as far as the booking goes. I think they could have done something more interesting than that. And I think both of us actually picked Finn to win the match because, hey, it would have been shown that faction as a stronger overall piece by having 3 champions and having the Money in the Bank all in the same family. And there would have been nothing stopping, him, Damian Priest, from going after Roman Reigns. Clearly, the plan is not for him to cash in on Roman Reigns.
Correct. But honestly, not only that, but him being the world champion in that faction with the briefcase just adds that extra wrinkle that we've already seen, the little cracks in the armor of the Spooky Pals.
Yeah.
So having Finn as champion with Damian Priest holding that briefcase, just making him feel uncomfortable, that just would be so much better. And again, this isn't about Seth Rollins not being champion. I have no issue with Seth Rollins being champion because he's busted his ass and deserves to be world heavyweight champion, and he is a fighting champion. But you did all that video package. You talked about the 7 years. He got the tattoo. He did all of that stuff. You made everybody think that this is the route they were going to go, where they were going to change the hands of the championship and have Finn be the champion. And then you had the same outcome as the last match, and he gets curb stomped on the briefcase to lose the match.
Yeah. Yeah. Better things could have been done for that. Jessica chimed in and said, "Who do we see taking the title off Gunther?" At this point, for me, it feels like it's a date so far in the future, I don't think I could make any prediction on that. Chris Brown chimed in and said it's his understanding Drew was royally pissed after his match and left the arena still in his gear.
Interesting.
If that's true, I mean, is the Smoke and Fire interview that Drew gave a couple weeks ago before SummerSlam, where he more or less admitted that there were some truth to the rumors out there while he was out on injury, and possibly either some creative issues and or just booking issues in general with the company.
Yeah.
Does this continue Drew on a path of all right, once my contract's up, I'm getting the hell out of here? Or does this motivate Drew even more to figure out what the heck his next step is for his character? I mean, personally, I'd love to see him go full on heel and just kick everybody's ass.
It could be kayfabe.
But there are certainly a lot. It's possible that they're trying to mess with people and what have you. But
Because if you think about it, because we mentioned it, like you just mentioned it here on the podcast. People are still talking about Drew's contract. So obviously, if Drew storms out of the arena wearing his gear, people are going to talk about it. Because there was no word that he actually re-signed a contract or got all the issues he had with creative out of the way. He could have already signed his contract, and he's just making it seem like that, and this could lead to a heel turn or something.
maybe.
But I got to put the brainless hat on.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Is that equivalent to your version of the thinking cap?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I showed up on the podcast as LA Knight, so now I have to go into brainless mode.
Let me talk to you.
I have a crazy idea of how they should book Gunther as the or how Gunther should drop the Intercontinental Championship.
Okay.
Let's say he's the one that wins the Royal Rumble, because I don't know how they're going to do this Cody versus Roman thing. I don't really want to see Cody win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. I like to see somebody like Gunther get that Royal Rumble victory, because, hell, after his performance this past one and the way he's kind of been presented as the Intercontinental Champion, is, in my opinion, I don't even care if this is his only reign as Intercontinental Champion. He's going to go down as one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time, because they booked the hell out of him the way they were supposed to. Not like AEW, that has champions lose in non-title matches a hell of a lot more than WWE does. And, oh, by the way, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion didn't even make it to the finals of the G1 finals. Or the G1 Classic, whatever it's called. He lost to a guy named Evil. Clean. And the way that they have presented Gunther, especially after the way that the Intercontinental title has been presented over the years, after The Miz and Dolph Ziggler and Jon Moxley were feuding for the title 7 years ago, which was the highest peak that it's had in a long time.
Right.
Gunther has brought and established the Intercontinental title, and it has it prestigious again. He wins the Royal Rumble. So now he has to challenge for either the Universal title or whatever the hell they're going to call the 27 titles Roman holds, or he's going to go after the World Champion, which I wouldn't be surprised about, because later on in my top 10, I have my top 10 hot takes from SummerSlam this year.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that. Yeah? After he wins the Royal Rumble and he challenges whatever champion, he relinquishes the title. I have held this championship for X amount of days or X amount of time or whatever it is, and nobody was able to beat me. So clearly there's nobody here in WWE that can beat me for this title. So now I'm done with it, and I'm going to go after the world title. Obviously, he could word it a lot better than how I worded it, because I'm not winning the Royal Rumble in 2024. I'm going to win the presidency in 2024.
Yes.
But I think that's one way to do it. Or if you get somebody like Braun Breaker, because that would be a good way to have him come up and debut on the main roster, to have him go and beat Gunther, or have Dragunov do it, because we know Dragunov can do it. Gunther's been beaten like...
I want to see Braun Breaker versus Drew McIntyre.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of matches I want to see Braun Breaker versus. And that's the thing. They can bring him up at any point. They don't have to push him to the top. There's enough guys in the mid to upper level of the card that he can feud with and have great matches. Him and Drew McIntyre, him and Sheamus, hell, him and Gunther had a great match down in NXT. And Braun Breaker is one of like 3 people who have pinned Gunther in WWE.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of mileage on that kid before you're ready to push him up to be the main guy. He needs time on the main roster. Thrusting him into the main event picture, kind of like what you tried to do with Jason Jordan all those years ago, is a bad decision. And it's not because Jason Jordan was a bad athlete or a bad wrestler. It's because he had the personality that was just this much better than Jack Perry. But I think I would like to see them do something like that, because that would really, like, him holding the title that long. And then, like, I am relinquishing this because I'm going to move on to go after the bigger championship. Or have him win the title like frickin' Warrior did at WrestleMania 6. I'm saying 7.
WrestleMania 6?
And
7 was the retirement match.
Yep, that's right. And that was when Hogan fought that traitor Sergeant Slaughter. Ugh.
Yeah.
The Iraqi
brother
sympathizer. And then, if I remember correctly, when the Warrior won the championship at WrestleMania 6, he had to relinquish the Intercontinental title, correct?
That was part of the gimmick. We also could go back not that far when Seth Rollins, what was he, U.S. champion and heavyweight champion simultaneously,
Do you
and he
remember?
was defending both.
Do you remember when he won the United States Championship? And you know who got the hockey assist for him winning the title that night, correct?
Uh, I, I'm blanking right now.
Jon Stewart.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He went heel for the night.
Top 10 favorite moment in wrestling history. Jon Stewart turning heel on John Cena at SummerSlam that cost him the United States Championship. And that wasn't even the most egregious thing we've ever seen at SummerSlam, or the most egregious thing we've ever seen at SummerSlam that included John Cena.
Chris Brown saying Gunther can say that now that he's past Honky Tonk Man's record, he's moving on to bigger and better things. But when Gunther does that, it's time for him to cast off the shackles of Imperium. I think the Imperium still has some juice to it. I think it helps with his presentation. I would say overall, if he does say something, Chris Brown, I wouldn't have him say he's moving on to better things, because then, again, that would kind of bury the IC strap. After he's done all this good for rejuvenating it and making it feel like it's an important title. So I think it would be more beneficial if he maintained the title, and whether he's forced to relinquish it because they come up with some hokey rule that they've decided upon, and they'll bring back up the Ultimate Warrior just so they could say, oh, yes, see, this is how consistent we've been about, yeah. That's what they'll do to try to prove that. And, oh, by the way, commentators-wise, with the shifting of the commentary teams, it sounds pretty much to me, because it said that it was pushed by partners of Endeavor and WWE, media partners of Endeavor and WWE. So what this tells me is it was USA Network. USA Network didn't like Kevin Patrick's calls on Monday Night Raw. Apparently, WWE likes Kevin Patrick, thinks he works hard. But I think this is pure speculation. I believe that the folks at USA Network saw the Brainless One's minor rant about Kevin Patrick as a short on our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to that, all y'all out there. And they're like, you know what? He's right. He's right. We don't need Kevin Patrick.
My favorite part was you explained that the most Cousin Jay way possible, where you're just really nice about it. And then there's me going, Michael Cole is replacing Kevin Patrick because Kevin Patrick was the absolute drizzle shits.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was terrible, Jay. God awful. I can't listen to him on Monday Night Raw. It's terrible. I can't do it. It was Jay, 35 years. I know that I'm setting the bar to a point because I grew up just like you did with Gorilla Monsoon. You're on the other side. Damn it. With Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura, Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, guys who were really, really good at what they did. It smells like chloroform, brother. I mean, guys who
wait. Macho Man said, smells like chloroform.
That's what it was. Chloroform.
WrestleMania 9.
And
hey, Macho Man even showed up at SummerSlam this year. Let me talk to you, yeah.
Yeah, that was
We'll get
fantastic.
into that in a minute.
Amazingly, that wasn't my good for this week. I know you're probably stunned. You're beyond shocked. You're stunned that he is not my good for this week. And I got a good story with it too, so you're gonna love that. But
yeah,
I'm just saying we've gone through Josh Matthews, who had a nosebleed in the middle of a commentary. He sounded like your little brother calling a wrestling match. We dealt with, oh my God, I love Joey Styles. Don't get me wrong, I love Joey Styles, but oh my God, we went through that. We had JBL. I love me some Booker T, but there's been points where Booker T has not been the greatest commentator. We've gone through Mike Adam Lee,
Jeff Harvey.
Oh, I just pulled an Adam Lee. I never laughed so hard in my life when she said that. But Kevin Patrick is in that conversation with being the worst of the worst. We're talking like Adnan Virk bad. We're talking, Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was serviceable, but Jimmy Smith wasn't rememberable.
No, like he was propped up by Corey Graves.
And I'll tell you right now, Michael Cole, for what it's worth, he's been there for 27, 28 years, something like that.
26 years, 1997.
He has been there so long, and he has done everything. Let the man have his flowers. He deserves this. He really does. He has busted his ass and lost 60% of his hearing dealing with Vince McMahon for 26 years, screaming in his ear. And you know what? He's pretty okay. I was going to say damn good, but I'm like, oh, wait, hold on, Pinocchio. Your nose is going to start growing.
Michael Cole has been there for 26 years, and he's missed twice. He missed 2 shows, 26 years. That's pretty damn incredible, and there were some people who, I think PWI back in the day listed Gorilla Monsoon as the worst commentator. So I think it all a little bit comes down to age. There are people who have more or less known only professional wrestling with Michael Cole as an announcer, and they don't know any better. They just know at this point that he got a lot better when Pat McAfee entered the fray. I mean, there's been a lot you could say about Michael Cole over the years where, he was, when he and Taz were together, they were great.
Yes.
And then, there was a period there where it was just terrible. I actually enjoyed heel Michael Cole. Social distancing before social distancing became a thing. The coal mine, which got destroyed by The Undertaker in Triple H at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, we had to live through that match that he had against Waller. But all that being said, Michael Cole has been, a good soldier over the years. He doesn't have a terrible voice. Sometimes he is, a big part of the problem was Vince. I remember when Twitter first started and became a thing, Michael Cole had to talk about Twitter every 3.7 seconds. And you just wanted to put your hand through the TV and say, shut the hell up about Twitter. I think he played his role perfectly well when he had the laptop with the Raw general manager.
May I have your attention, please? I've just received an email from the anonymous Raw general manager.
He got so much heat. And I was at some of those shows where he was doing that. The crowd wanted to kill him. when he was announced before Raw even started, like, they bring out the announcers and they have them with their music. He was getting heel heat, even when he wasn't a heel, just by doing that.
I still remember when he was heel announcer around the time CM Punk won at Money in the Bank. And it was when Cody Rhodes was doing his Dashing Cody Rhodes gimmick. Which, by the way,
before the paper
bags?
No,
this was during the paper bags because Cody Rhodes was handing them out, or somebody was handing out paper bags, and they handed one to Booker T, and Booker T refused to put the mask on. And I remember because I could hear it, because you could hear what they're saying. The announcers, you can hear them throughout the arena as the show's going on.
Yeah.
So you can see what's going on, and then he's got the paper bag over his head, and he's trying to call the show with the paper bag over his head. And I'm just sitting there at the casino going, this is not what I was expecting to happen at the first Raw or SmackDown I've ever been to, where Michael Cole is going to be calling a Cody Rhodes match with a paper bag over his head.
With a paper bag over his head. Which he quite honestly, the voice he did was kind of similar to Lars Sullivan without the heavy breathing. If I'm being fair. By the way, Tim, F and Marks Hall of Famer, how are you? Thanks for checking in.
What's up, Timmy?
All right. Chris Brown says, keep in mind, Jay, when it comes to commentary, even Cole's days are numbered. I can see us having a Raw desk with Wade Barrett and Pat McAfee. And then says, in parentheses, evil grin.
See, the only thing is, I like Wade Barrett, and I know a lot of people were wondering how he was going to transition into the role of the SmackDown team with Michael Cole. Wade Barrett, I don't know if I would feel comfortable enough with him being the play-by-play guy. Gorilla Monsoon, for what it's worth, Gorilla Monsoon was able to knock it out of the park considering the fact he was a professional wrestler. And with doing a team with McAfee and Wade Barrett as the 1-2 punch, and that's
there would have to be a third. There would have to be a third.
If they did a 3-man with, because it's going to happen. McAfee's coming back. There's no way. They have all these ties now with ESPN. Yeah. McAfee is there in with ESPN. They're going to get him on SmackDown. They're going to get him on Raw. He's going to be on everything. McAfee's going to be hosting WrestleMania with The Miz and LA Knight at some point.
Let me talk to you.
And it's just, if you're going to do it, you're going to need a third person. And like we've seen, all they have is Michael Cole. They could probably get what the hell is the dude's name from NXT?
Vic Joseph?
Vic Joseph. I think Vic Joseph with Wade Barrett and Pat McAfee, if they decide to go younger, Vic Joseph has done an excellent job at NXT. I have really enjoyed him. I thought he was good when he was calling. I think it was 205 Live he was calling. And he called a lot of other stuff.
And they brought him up briefly. Yeah. They brought him up briefly I think he was Raw. If I'm remembering.
I think you're right. And I think that he would be a really good compliment for those guys. If they decide they want to go and give like Michael Cole more of like a backstage role where he could be a producer or something like that, where he's not in front of the camera as much. But I mean, this is a sign that Cole's there for a while. Because there's no way you're going to have him transition to cover both and the pay-per-views.
Right.
Without him being like, all right, you're going to be here for a minute.
So one thing Chris Brown did chime in with, Michael Cole specifically has said when he gets to his 60s, he's kind of, I think, going to quit the full-time schedule that he's on at this point. But, I mean, that's still about 5 years or 6 years away. But that was kind of the window that he gave as far as Pat McAfee coming back and, kind of sort of taking over at some point. So I think we'll get McAfee back within the next couple of years on a more regular basis than what we've seen in the last, year and a half. His kid will be a little bit older, and, McAfee is 100% bought in to WWE because it was Vince McMahon mostly who gave him the advice of how to get the contract that he currently has with ESPN, despite the fact that he had signed like that really big contract a year before apparently there was some sort of out clause, but he got all that knowledge from Vince in WWE. So I'm sure in his mind, he's like, I'm forever indebted to these people. By the way, I also love what they do, and I love being in the ring doing that.
It's incredible to see Pat McAfee excel the way he did in WWE, the way that they brought him in NXT, and he was working with Adam Cole on his show and everything and built that up. They actually had a pretty decent match at NXT TakeOver 30. He could cut a damn good promo. We saw one of the greatest heel promos when they did the NFL draft in Tennessee, and he absolutely lit the Titan fans up like I've never like they played the Bills in that game where they came back and won 38-35.
Yeah, Music City Miracle.
And oh no, that was Tennessee who won that one.
Yeah.
Bills.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy that Pat McAfee is the most popular person in second most popular person in WWE. And the way he transitioned and the way he got Michael Cole to fall in love with being the play-by-play guy for WWE again, you can't take that away from him. I don't know what they're gonna do. I know he said he wants to wrestle. At this point I don't know because I know he's not quite my age, but he's closer to my age than he is to LeBron James' kid's age. So let's just put it that way.
Right.
But I'd like to see him come back in some capacity. Obviously because I love Pat McAfee.
All right, Mike Rainey says, if you had to choose between Kevin Patrick and Mike Adamle as an announcer, who are you choosing?
That would be like asking me if I was locked in a room with Mike Adamle and Kevin Patrick and I had a gun with one bullet, I'd shoot myself. Because Kevin Patrick, because like you mentioned the breathing, he's a heavy breather when he's on the broadcast thing, as well as the fact that he is like emotionless when he's talking. But Mike Adamle would be like mid-sentence and just not know what the fuck he's talking about.
Now, we ended up finding out later on there was a medical reason for that, and it's like, okay, we'll give Adamle a pass. We got Jeff Harvey for life because of him.
And oops, I pulled an Adamle. With a tear in my eye, Cousin Jay. That was definitely the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
But by the way, FM Marks Hall of Famer Tim also mentioned something about Kevin Patrick, kind of always being like out of breath.
Yes. Cornette mentions it quite frequently on his podcast. I really haven't had a chance to listen to Cornette at all this week, so I haven't had a chance to hear what his opinion was. Michael Cole being the double dose of doom, as they so eloquently used to refer to.
All right, Chris Brown saying coal mine and him advertising for the network every 15 seconds were parts of Michael Cole's career I could have done without. Graves would take over SmackDown, and if they asked Coach to come back, laughing my ass off.
I'd shoot myself.
Between Patrick and Adamle, I'd rather get a root canal without the gas.
As somebody who has gotten 2 root canals in his life, I agree. That's all I'm going to put. That was.
I agree. All right.
I agree. Since we were talking about, I'm sorry. Since we were talking about the stuff with the merger, because Michael Cole is getting the call because of all this, I have another little tidbit that we found out this week in regards to the merger.
Yeah?
Once this merge happens next month and WWE becomes a part of Endeavor, Triple H will no longer be part of the board of directors. What are your thoughts?
When you have a merger and you have a board of directors who are making decisions, I think they pick and choose those things for reasons. reasons. It would have, made a certain amount of sense if they kept Triple H as part of the board of directors, but I think this is one of Vince's things when he talked with the, CEO of Endeavor, probably said like, hey, pal, I'm going to make it look like this guy, like we're okay, but let me do something that like shows that I'm the one that has the power. I'm the one in command, even though Vince right now is out on indefinite medical, leave from the company. Just another way Vince is showing I'm gone, but I'm not. Oh, by the way, reports out there saying that before Vince went out with this spinal surgery, that he was heavily involved in creative, and Triple H even at SummerSlam said, hey, you got Vince McMahon here. Why wouldn't I ask his advice about X, Y, and Z? Why wouldn't I ask him?
Because
he's forgotten more things about the business than all of us combined.
Because he will turn X, Y, and Z into Q, R, and S. Because
but he won't turn it into QTV.
That one hurt. No, because nobody's stupid enough, except for maybe a coked out billionaire child, would put some kind of. Actually, no. I am really surprised that Vince McMahon hasn't done anything stupid enough like freaking QTV.
Well, there was GTV back in the day, and they never officially revealed. Yeah, I think that show happened. If I'm remembering right, I think I was at that show. It was in Hartford.
Oh, God, yeah.
You're the big show, and then Val Venus.
Oh, ladies. Which is funny because you mentioned Val Venus because I just saw a clip of Choppy My PP. I was like, yeah, I don't know how WWE got away with some of the stuff they got away with in the 90s.
Yeah, nor I.
I can't wait because he had the back surgery. We talked last week about how he got indicted. Was he indicted or was he subpoenaed? He was subpoenaed.
He was subpoenaed, and because right now I'm going to put the fact that maybe he had a medical procedure at 75%. 75%, because this is the same man that when he had the steroid trial put on a neck brace. He went full, like...
He had neck surgery before the trial, Jay. How dare you make those accusations? Just like you accuse Hulk Hogan of not wrestling 400 days in a single year.
Yes.
Or killing Andre the Giant 9 days after he body slammed him at the Silverdome, weighing in at 700 pounds and tearing every ligament in his back. That man had surgery. Just like he had a medical procedure right before he got subpoenaed for something with or without Donald Trump being attached to it. I'm still convinced that Trump is attached to Vince's subpoena because it's too coincidental that they're running at the same time. But not too coincidental that Vince McMahon is having back surgery right before he got subpoenaed or right after he got subpoenaed because he's going to show up to court in a full body cast and they're going to have to.
He's going to be in a gurney. He's going to be wheeled in a gurney, and like he's going to have his dastardly criminal mustache, and he's going to sit there and look so sad and pathetic in the trial, or in whatever happens as far as the indictment goes. And then once he gets off, you're going to see him as if Jesus Christ has come back down to earth and pulled him off of his mat and said, get up and walk. And then after he does that, Vince is going to go,
And then
and
then
then
Steve
he's
Austin's
going
gonna.
to run off and do something else dastardly.
I was gonna say Steve Austin was gonna hit him in the head with a bedpan.
Well, I mean, he'll probably take a stunner after that just to, really showcase.
Stunner, bedpan, and then Brutus Beefcake's gonna come and trim that mustache right off his lip.
I saw the barber in this week's episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
I'm 3 weeks behind. I still haven't watched Bam Bam Bigelow yet.
It was the Jannetty episode.
I know. I'm really sad that it is Friday because I had a plan, and then everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So I just kind of.
You know what? I'm glad that you borrowed some words from the great philosopher Mike Tyson.
This is now the second time I've quoted Mike Tyson since noon.
It's ludicrous.
Maybe even later. It's probably 2:00. But it's because the internet exists, and I'm not a very pleasant person on the internet.
And apparently, Mike Tyson ended up helping leave Ric Flair in a marijuana-induced coma. Apparently, they had partied so hard and smoked the ganj so much that Flair thought he was like in another universe. He wasn't sure he was alive. Oh, by the way, it sounds remarkably similar to another story that came out this week that perhaps Ric Flair fell asleep during his final match and that he had to get woken up by his son-in-law. I'm wondering if perhaps he had smoked all that ganj with Tyson and was drinking alcohol and didn't drink any water, and that's why he fell asleep during his final match, which was a shit show anyway.
I'm glad you mentioned this. I'm gonna have to tell this really quickly because I can definitely tell you it is very possible that Tyson has done this to Ric Flair. Because I always think of the first time I ever did edibles, and whatever they tell you about edibles, listen to people when they tell you. Because when they tell you to eat a brownie or a cookie or microdose or whatever you're gonna do it and wait. Give it about 45 minutes, maybe an hour before it kicks in. Don't be somebody stupid and after 20 minutes, I don't feel anything, and then demolish 2 more brownies. Because I will tell you right now, a certain someone who shall remain brainless did that one time during a Giants playoff game many, many, many moons ago. I ate 3 brownies in the span of an hour and smoked a whole bunch of pot. I could not tell you one play that occurred in that game. I had no idea the Giants lost that game. Pretty sure they were shut out. All I remember was we ate the brownies, we smoked, the Giants played football, we ate hamburgers, and the next day I woke up after sleeping for 13 consecutive hours.
Was that the Vikings game?
Carolina Panthers.
Sad.
Yeah. It was, in fact, I can tell you, it was Eli Manning's first career playoff game.
Playoffs?
So it was 2006, I believe it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember a thing. All I remember was we ate cheeseburgers, and I got home at 12:30. I got home at 12:30, and I woke up at 1:30 the next afternoon.
Yeah, so apparently Mike Tyson can handle himself, and Ric Flair not as much. But
yeah.
There are a couple of dents in the fender there.
Jay, that man is running on a if he's a car, he's got a 76 like Honda fucking transmission in that thing.
He's got a Pinto.
His timing belts are actual belts that you put around your waist because they just keep falling off. So that was terrible. I could have done better. I'm sorry.
Sad.
Maybe I should have ate 3 brownies before the show.
Yeah.
And I could have fell asleep like Ric Flair.
Anyway, so just to backtrack a little bit, because we didn't get too much into this one, I thought Logan Paul and Ricochet actually had a solid match, But when they talked about having something that was going to be a super viral moment, I did not see anything in this match where I was like going, yeah, that was something epic. Like
I
that
said,
I needed to watch over and over again. There were none of those moments. Really solid match. Nothing to complain about with the match. But when you hype yourself up as if you're going to do something that's like never been seen before, it did underwhelm as far as that goes. But the match itself was really solid if you didn't hear that beforehand.
anticlimactic. Once again, SummerSlam was anticlimactic. Again, like you were right, it was a great match, but here we are, not even a week later, and we barely talked about it because it was just, okay, it was a good match. You guys promised us bells and whistles and pomp and circumstance, and you gave us a fart in the church.
Mm.
I like that Ricochet got a chance and an opportunity at SummerSlam, considering the fact that Triple H has been on the whole thing where it's all about quality and not quantity of matches.
Yeah.
But I expected a lot more from the two of them. How long, though? How long until we get Shane McMahon versus Logan Paul?
Until Shane's quad heals. So maybe WrestleMania 40.
Apparently,
By the way,
as much
tickets are on sale right now. Although now the packages that they're putting out there, it's like the cheapest one's like, I think like $750.
Yeah, hold on. I got to get a knife and cut my kidney out so we can go.
Hey, you have an opportunity to earn your way to WrestleMania tomorrow.
Cousin Jay, I have known you a very, very, very long time. And this is not your or I's first rodeo at the horse track or something horse-related mañana. I will guarantee you this, Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock. We have a better chance of seeing the thing that you're half expecting to see tomorrow than we do of me winning enough money so that I can go to WrestleMania in Philadelphia in April.
Woo!
You know, I feel like I have to tell you. I was going to save it for tomorrow, but I feel like I have to tell you. Like Austin Powers said in Goldmember, I did it again. I know it's not wrestling related, and I was going to save it for tomorrow, but you know what? This is too good. I've been sitting on it, and I have to tell you. So over the weekend, FanDuel, for whatever reason, at least 2 or 3 times this summer, has sent me these $5 free bets on the horse racing. So the first couple of times that they did this, I got a little creative, and I took that $5 in free bets, and I betted on this. You know, I did like a crazy superfecta here, a crazy trifecta here, and I spread that $5 so much that it was impressive. I didn't think I could ever get that many horse racing bets on $5. Well, the last time they gave it, yes. So this last time I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not doing it this way. The best thing for me to do is just go for somebody who's got some decent odds with a really good jockey on him. And it just so happens that Irad Ortiz was riding the 7 horse in one of the races on, I forget, it was either Saturday or Sunday. So I decided to take that $5 free bet and put it on him. And as they were coming down the stretch and it looked like the 7 was about to win, it toppled over and threw Irad Ortiz off.
Sounds like a replay of Saratoga.
Later that night, because I watched the race, and I said, of course he did. Because why wouldn't? The one time I bet on the hottest jockey in all of horse racing to win a race that he was so going to win at one of my favorite places on planet Earth. And I saw later that night, they euthanized the horse. So now, Cousin Jay, I haven't even told El Diablo Blanco. I couldn't even tell him on Tuesday when I talked to him And the funny thing was, we mentioned it because I mentioned where we were going tomorrow, and he says, well, make sure you don't kill a horse. Dad, it's only happened like a couple, it happened more times than once.
And the last time we were there, you started a fire.
I did not start a fire. I can't believe they were mad at.
It started, and we just happened to be there, and it delayed a lot of things.
All I know is that the alarm was going off, and I was still trying to get a bed in, and they told me to leave the building as I was trying to put my ticket in the machine. There may or may not be pictures of me all over the entranceway at Colonial Downs tomorrow.
Yeah. All right.
And if they're not, they'll definitely be there by the end of the day.
On a not completely related note, but I'm going to just put it as semi-related note, Marty Jannetty and everyone interviewed in this week's Dark Side of the Ring Get Brainless of the Week. He's not far off there. All right. Mike Rainey saying, speaking of Andrade, rumors are him and Charlotte are no longer a couple. Interesting.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Tim had a woo. Okay.
Woo!
SummerSlam peaked after the first 3 matches and went downhill from there.
What was the third match? Because I remember that they started with Logan Paul and Ricochet, and then Brock Lesnar begrudgingly went on second. Was the Battle Royal third?
I think it was.
Oh my God, Jay. We're however long into the podcast, we haven't even really mentioned it.
Let me talk to you.
Hold on. Gotta go full on. Let me talk to you. Yeah. So whether they bumped Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus from the SummerSlam card so that we can have the moment that we were anticipating having on Saturday remains to be seen. I think that they could have done it, and we could have done away with that abomination of a wrestling match that we called Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler, and we could have had Trish and Becky instead, but that's neither here nor there. Also, Roman Reigns didn't need to take 4.5 hours to get to the ring either.
Are you sure?
But I'll tell you right now, I saw, because I was watching the pre-show, and I saw the participants in this match, and I went, son of a bitch. I'm like, this went from being like, okay, there's a few people in it to like, okay, Bronson Reed's in here. I could see him winning this thing. Tommaso Ciampa's in this thing. I could definitely see Ciampa winning this thing. Obviously, Sheamus can win this thing. There was a bunch of people in there that I was like, it's not out of the realm of possibility they're going to win.
Then they brought in Omos.
Then they shocked us. And I was this close, Jay, this close to texting you and saying, I want to change my pick. Because I said Omos is going to go out there and throw all 25 other people out of the ring, and I'm going to be just as happy when he does it as I would if LA Knight had actually won the match. But they did it the right way. He threw out some of the extra guys. They had a numbers game still in their advantage. They finally decided to join forces and eliminate the biggest threat, which is rule number 1 in regards to Battle Royals and Royal Rumbles.
If we learned anything from Andre the Giant and him being 700 pounds in WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 3.
Yes. But think about all the Andre the Giant Battle Royals where they're like, all right, we got to get the Big Show out, or we got to get Mark Henry out. Or when AEW did their first ever Battle Royal and it was Billy Gunn. When Billy Gunn was the biggest person in a wrestling match, and he needed 20 other guys to team up to eliminate him. Billy Gunn.
Marco Stunt, Danhausen.
Orange Cassidy was hitting him with those thunderous kicks. True story.
Luigi Primo.
That's what they got to do. They got to do one of those types of battle royals where they bring in Luigi Primo and they bring in the Man Scout and they bring in Danhausen and just do like this crazy gimmicky battle royal type of thing because I would watch it even if it would be silly. But anyway, we get to the final three, and it's AJ Styles, Sheamus, and LA Knight. Styles finally gets eliminated. We're down to the last two. LA Knight went out there. He shined, eliminated Sheamus, and finally, if you ain't talking about LA Knight, you ain't talking,
Yeah.
The man finally won a marquee match. Granted, it was a battle royal, the third match of the card on SummerSlam, but it was something. They kept teasing us for months that the poor guy was actually going to get a chance and an opportunity. And they finally pulled the trigger. To the point that on Monday Night Raw, I loved every second of that whole thing between The Miz and LA Knight. From The Miz going in there for the pictures and he's getting cut in line by LA Knight. That promo by The Miz was excellent. The Miz deserves his flowers because he's been there for so long. He has had a really, really good career. And he's married to Maurice.
Yeah.
So, and he cut that promo. And Eli Drake cut a damn good promo on Monday. And I think if this is the route they're going to go, and hell, put him back on NXT. Give me LA Knight Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. I'll watch him every night of the week. Let him go to AEW. Let him go over there. He'd be the most over person over there after Don Callis. But it was good. And they're starting to build him up. And now everybody who's been crying, like, oh, you said he was going to have his moment at WrestleMania. Oh, he's going to have his moment in the Andre the Giant. Oh, he's going to win Money in the Bank. He's going to win the United States Championship. You finally pulled the trigger. You give him the ball and see what he can do. Let him run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see where they go with him going forward.
All right. Chris Brown saying, that's right. I heard that moronic male models might die. So there's that. SummerSlam with the merchandise sales. LA Knight was not on the list that I saw. I'm sure he was high up there, but it did say the top three, the three R's, not the three I's, the three R's here. Rollins, Rhodes, Ripley. Those were the three big sellers in downtown Detroit at Ford Field. Seth Franklin Rollins, the American Nightmare, and Rhea Ripley. By the way, Rhea Ripley, Buddy Matthews, congratulations on your engagement. I'm sure Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom, is even dirtier today than he was yesterday because of this news.
I may give you or myself a late edition for Brainless for this week because you were sitting there going the three R's, and I'm thinking Roman. God, no, Cody's with a C. So it's not Cody. Where the fuck's the R in Cody? And you're like Rhodes, and I went, oh, duh.
Let me tell you, baby.
It's not just a gimmick, people. It's a lifestyle. Wow. No, it's not good enough to get my Brainless because I got a good one for my Brainless this week. But it was close. I mean, that might be the latest we've had an entry for Brainless for the week.
I mean, I know we've had many early entries into the Brainless category.
Yes, we have.
So,
thank you, Vince McMahon.
All right. So what Chris Brown was saying is that whatever injury Bray Wyatt has been dealing with has been a life-threatening illness, whatever it may be.
And
someone his age, life-threatening illness, to me, like, cancer is the one that pops up to my brain immediately. And maybe he has that and just doesn't want to be out there with it. At least not now.
And don't try to cheat the system like the brainless one did and go to his nurse wife and ask her, what could Bray Wyatt be sick with that could be not only career threatening but life threatening, expecting an answer when she looks at you and goes, it could be a number of things. Well, there's that.
It could be a lot.
Yeah. And all I'm gonna say is I'm glad that they're taking his health into consideration, because at the end of the day, him getting home to his wife and kids is the most important thing. And I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad that they're actually giving us some kind of clarity too, because it's not good. And I feel bad for the guy because he is ultra talented, and I still like the guy, and I still want to see him do something, anything. But the verbal assaultage he's been receiving on social media has been incredible. I have no idea where this all stems from. It's like he's just a wrestler. He's just performing. He's just trying to do this thing. I get that he had all these great promos after you've been, crying for him to return since he got the day he got released. You wanted Bray Wyatt back. And they finally brought him back, and he was cutting all these promos. And then he had that dumpster fire of a match at the Royal Rumble, and then he challenged Bobby Lashley, did a fucking gym workout video, and then he disappeared off of planet Earth. I'm glad that they gave us clarity. I'm curious what it would be that is causing these issues. No, it's even though it's not my, it's none of my business what the hell's wrong with him. And at the end of the day, I care more about him and his health and well-being than I am about me being entertained by him in the ring. But I would like to see him come back because I'm curious to see which route they go with him.
So it sounds like they're coming up with creative plans for him. I don't think that means that he's coming back imminently, but it sounds like they're coming up with plans for him for this year. So I guess we'll see what they come up with, what they figure out, but I would like to see them do more than what we saw with him in the 7 months that he was on the roster. I still, I was hopeful for the stairs match. We didn't get that. I'm hopeful next month for the Punjabi prison match. I don't know if we're going to get that. I'm going to say we're probably not getting that, and that I'll be sad about that. I would like to see Indus Sher in a tag team Punjabi prison match just to take it up to the next level. We already saw the Jinder versus Randy Orton in a Punjabi prison match. We have seen the Great Khali versus the Animal Batista in one of the worst matches that I have ever witnessed in my life. And we had a pretty good Undertaker versus the Big Show in the Punjabi prison match, because I'm sure Undertaker said, I'm not going against the Great Khali in a Punjabi prison because I think he's going to kill me.
I wrestled Giant Gonzalez.
Yes.
That's all he has to say. I wrestled Giant Gonzalez. Jay, I'm going to tell you this much. Punjabi prison shows up at the show in India next month. The Punjabi prison goes in the FM Marks Hall of Fame.
Okay.
It's a lock.
Takes place alongside Clash 13.
And Billy D. Williams. Because if the 40 don't get you,
the 5 will. By the way, FM Marks Hall of Famer Tim says he believes that he thinks it would be a good idea for Bronson Reed to take on the 5 gimmick, just like King Kong Bundy had and Big E did for a short bit when he was, I think specifically in NXT.
I think it was in NXT. I don't know. I'm gonna. I don't want to answer that. I really don't. I think that's just one of those things that maybe you should just keep with King Kong Bundy. If it was such a big thing with Big E, he probably would have kept it going. But we know what's going to happen if he doesn't do it. Then somebody stupid from AEW is going to get it, like Dino Man.
But we did get an update finally about Big E. and his career. And it certainly is not sounding good. He has been recommended by doctors to not return to professional wrestling. So if what, the last we saw of Big E is what his career, how his career ends, it sucks. But you know what? The dude was a world heavyweight champion.
Yep.
He is part of one of the greatest factions and one of the greatest tag team championship combinations in WWE history. So,
agreed.
Nothing to, look down at. He had a really good career. It was just apparently cut short by, just an accident.
An unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah.
And I know that you also mentioned that they were dealing with the injury bug in WWE. Another person who is now on the shelf is one Sonya Deville, not too long after her and Chelsea Green just won the Women's Tag Team Championships.
With Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, both of them seem to have the worst luck. Every time it feels like there's some momentum building for them, something happens.
Something's happening.
Exactly.
And it really is unfortunate because I even wrote it down and I put a frowny face because I'm just I'm very devastated by this. Sonya Deville has busted her ass. She has been in WWE for 8 years. This was her first title reign, and it's going to get cut short after less than a month or whatever it's been because she tore her ACL in the ring, and that is unfortunate. Luckily, this is only Sonya's first injury of any type in her run in WWE, and she's already had the surgery and she's already started her rehab, so we'll be seeing her back on TV in no time. I am curious to see the route they go with Chelsea Green. Do they find a tag team partner for her? Do they vacate the tag team championship because she doesn't have a tag team partner? I mean, it feels like they're just running free range with everything they're doing with the tag team championships because, Liv Morgan gets hurt and Raquel Rodriguez picks somebody else to be her tag team partner. Lita was replaced by Trish Stratus in a tag team match. So I'd be curious to see.
Even with the Usos. Sami Zayn replaced.
Yep. And, I'll say this. I'd like to see the route they go, and I really do hope that they keep the titles at least on Chelsea Green and she can find a suitable partner. I don't know which route they're going to go. It would be crazy if she found her part. Yeah. She's going to find Nicholas. If she does find her tag team partner next month in Norfolk, Virginia, that's going to guarantee be my good for the week.
Well, F and Mark's Hall of Famer El Jefe did happen to have an interview with one Chelsea Green and did ask her about some of these things. And we'll put a link on the Facebook page so you can check out the interview that he was able to conduct with her. But, he covered that topic. He covered, the various things that have happened to her when it seemed like things had been going her way, stuff happens. Whether, it's her breaking her wrist, whether it's her, knee getting messed up, or now that her partner's knee's getting messed up, she actually sounds like, hey, I could deal with the stuff that happens to me. I feel worse for the people that I love that it happens to. So
she is slowly but surely climbing up my power rankings of women's wrestlers in WWE. It's not going to be long before I'm starting to talk about Chelsea Green as my favorite because she's been killing it. And I know I've mentioned this before. Of all the people that Triple H has brought back that was released prior by Vince McMahon, who has really been booked better than she has?
I mean, Bronson Reed is the only one I would say is like remotely close to being booked as well. I mean, Braun Strowman was being booked okay
Decently, yeah.
uh, before his injury, and he's been out for a couple of months, and Ricochet more or less said, "Hey, yeah, he'll be back. He'll be better and stronger than ever at some point." But
Bray
there's
Wyatt
that.
had a pitch black match. He carrying Cross is, I mean, he's basically the SummerSlam of the WWE roster. He's just been anticlimactic since he returned.
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano, I think, got hurt. Not Chelsea. Oh, geez. What the hell is his? Oh my God, why am I blanking on his wife?
Candice.
Candice LeRae. She's been kind of hurt. Dexter Lumis. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Dexter Lumis.
Right.
I mean, Hit Row. They used Hit Row in that scene where freaking LA Knight came out in Madison Square Garden and got the loudest pop.
And to an extent, you could say LA Knight, not that he is a re-signing or brought back by Triple H, but he kind of was brought back by Triple H because before that, he was a manager of the Maximum Male Models.
Thank you for mentioning that. I had asked this question to Nicole last Sunday after the Battle Royal because I was thinking about it. And I said, because you know me, Jay, I love to think outside the box. So when it comes to like my wrestler of the year, because after last year, Elias became Elias again, so he went into our Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
After where LA Knight was, I know that he was transitioning back into LA Knight near the end of December into the beginning of January. I'll count it. From where he was to where he is right now is him winning the SummerSlam Slim Jim Battle Royal enough for him to warrant becoming Superstar of the Year or Wrestler of the Year?
For me at this point, no.
What would he have to do to get over that hump for you?
It would have to be, I think, something pretty significant because clearly Roman Reigns is in that conversation. Clearly Gunther is in that conversation because guess what? They've held their titles the whole year.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Let me talk to you.
Roman Reigns is getting disqualified from my Wrestler of the Year because, yes,
is he getting disqualified from lettuce hair?
Oh, hell no, Jay. We're going to get that. That's going to be the first award we give out just because it's going to be the same thing. And I think I'm going to just send him a trophy. I'm going to send 8 of them to him. Congratulate Roman Reigns, Wettest Hair Marquee Award. What the hell is this shit? But no, he's getting disqualified for my Superstar of the Year because, yes, he's been champion the entire year, but he's defended the title like, what, twice?
Something like that.
I want to almost give it to LA Knight because of the fact that he went from being a manager of male models to getting buried by Bray Wyatt at the Royal Rumble to overcoming that, being the number 1 selling shirt, number 1 in merchandise, the most over wrestler in professional wrestling. I want to give it to him, but I think he needs a little bit more. I don't see him winning the United States Championship between now and the end of the year because I really do think they're going to go with Santos Escobar tonight. But now that we're seeing him on Raw, I know they're going to get a little bit more lackadaisical with the brand split. Is it out of the realm of possibility? Because we did talk about it. What if, this is just came to my brain, by the way. What if it's LA Knight that ends Gunther's reign as Intercontinental Champion? I don't see it happening personally. I would love to. I would love to see it happen. I just don't personally see it happening. And he's got to do a lot more than winning a Slim Jim Battle Royal at the SummerSlam and then beating the Miz in a feud because the Miz has like 1 win this year.
Right. And he lost more matches at WrestleMania than anybody ever has in the history of WrestleMania. In 2 nights.
Granted, he did lose to not only a future WWE Hall of Famer, but he also lost to a current WWE Hall of Famer in the same night. So let's not say that like he lost to like a bunch of bums. He lost to the greatest punter in the NFL that is not in my family tree, and then he lost to one of the greatest rappers of our generation and beyond.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that Snoop Dogg hasn't smoked up Ric Flair to the point where he's falling asleep.
We don't know that hasn't happened. Maybe Snoop Dogg was there when he and Tyson smoked up. And maybe that's why Ric Flair decided that he was going to go into the business venture with Mike Tyson for marijuana.
So that 2 years down the road, Hulk Hogan can say that he was supposed to go into business with Mike Tyson, but he was too busy yelling for toilet paper because he had no money. He was taking a shit.
Yes.
Still the greatest thing I've ever seen on Twitter.
Help. Brother.
I need toilet paper, brother. Help.
That was shitty.
He got himself in a real stinky situation there, didn't he?
It's funny because it's true.
What a load of crap that was for him, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right. Outside of that, other injury updates we have. Kevin Owens is out with overeating of cupcakes. They put out there that he has a broken rib, but we know what it.
No, it wasn't.
We know the code.
It wasn't a broken rib. He ate too many ribs. You got to get it right, Jay.
So there's that. But his partner this week, if you noticed, had a ginormous elbow. He probably messed with the bursa sac in his elbow. I remember seeing Tommy Dreamer have the same injury in the WWE version of ECW. It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. It is not actually something super major, but it does take at least a few weeks to calm down. So they did an injury angle with Sami Zayn this week. Along those lines of people getting injured, even though Roman Reigns is going to be on SmackDown tonight, there was a spot in his match with Jey Uso where apparently he did actually get injured. Not hurt enough to, stop the match, but they think it was the part where Jey jumped on the outside when Roman was kind of like
Tope suicida.
Exactly. Hunched over, got hit in the back, and you see Roman like, ugh. And it looked like better than professional wrestling acting.
Yeah.
What Roman did. But they're going to have a thing with Roman tonight, but it's just going to be a segment. Roman, I think, is going to not show up, at least for. He's not going to have to defend his title, at least for a little bit of time. He might not even defend it until the Royal Rumble, for all we know. I don't think he's going to be at Payback, and he might be Survivor Series, but if he's going against Seth Franklin Rollins, it's not going to be title for title. This is going to be bragging rights.
Oh, yeah.
So we might not see Roman title match for a little bit. It's possible that I think there's a Saudi Arabia show that he'll defend the title at.
You won't even have to because you got Seth Franklin Rollins now.
Right.
He's your world heavyweight champion. He's going to defend the title any place, anytime, da-da-da-da-da. And you know they're not going to have to worry about him in India because they're going to have Veer and not Shanky win the tag team titles.
Right.
Inside the Punjabi prison.
Yes.
While the great Khali and Jinder Mahal celebrate.
Yes.
Duh.
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 So beyond that, allegedly, Brock Lesnar actually has something he's dealing with from the match with Cody. They don't know, they have not listed what it is, what it was. It sounds like allegedly it happened semi-early in this match, but clearly didn't stop the two of them from performing and having a really good match.
Yep.
All that being said, it sounds like there aren't any plans in the near future for Brock. They're saying we won't see him until next year. I'm going to say there's a Saudi Arabia show where he'll probably get paid a couple of $1 million. So he will surprisingly show up before then and have a match. But at least for the short-term future, we're not going to see Brock Lesnar in a WWE ring. And that could be in part why he went babyface at the end of the match there, showed the sign of respect to Cody and did what he did.
Yeah, it's very possible. And I'll tell you right now, I think we have a better chance of seeing, if they're saying he's not going to show up until next year, I think it's very possible that we have a better chance of seeing Roman defend the title one more time before Royal Rumble than we do seeing Brock Lesnar before the Royal Rumble. If I'm just being honest, it's Brock. Brock doesn't need this. Brock just show up whenever the hell he wants. If he doesn't want to be there, he wants to go and like hunt moose or whatever the hell he does, let him do it. If he wants to go alligator hunting, let him do it. If he wants to F5 every freaking mounted police until he finds Jacques Rougeau, let him do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. But it is unfortunate if he did get hurt. And again, kudos to him for not only giving Cody his moment off script after the match, but the fact that he went through that entire match hurt just proves that he is the alpha male of our species.
Mike Rainey says it looked like Brock was holding his ribs at the end of the match and is wondering if it's possible that it was a rib injury. Clearly, that would be a non-cupcake related injury there. And verifiable because it was in front of people. So
there is one thing I need to understand something that happened at SummerSlam.
Okay.
You do this triple threat match for the women's championship, and I get why you did it, even though I think it's stupid that you did it this way. And it was clear as day. I really thought this was the one match that I still, 5-6 days later, I'm still scratching my head. Why did you have Bianca win the title just to drop it 75 seconds later?
It would have made perfect sense to have Charlotte win it to drop it 75 seconds later so she could then tie her dad and John Cena in the next couple of months.
And head into WrestleMania 40 to break it.
Yes.
If you were so dead set on doing this Io Sky Asuka feud because it's the two greatest women's Japanese wrestlers of all time, minus Bull Nakano, and so I don't understand why did you go that route? It makes no sense. Why would she win it just to lose it that quick? I don't get why they do stupid shit like this. It's stupid storyline wise and booking wise. If you really are hell bent on doing Io Sky versus Asuka, you should have had her take the title from Asuka. Her taking the title from Bianca does absolutely nothing for the story. The only good thing that came from this is the fact that after this match happened, I found out that one of my personal favorites, Kairi Sane, has re-signed with WWE. Which means we're going to get the Princess of the Sky going up against, what the hell is Io Sky? Or
She's
the
a
one?
pirate.
Oh, the pirate versus the Empress of the Sky. That's what it was. The pirate princess and the Empress of the Sky, and the Empress of Tomorrow is Asuka.
Yes.
Hell, they could do a triple threat. Sign me up. I'd be the first person glued to the TV to watch that one. And I'm so glad that Kairi Sane is back. And the whole story behind it is even better. Because she left WWE because of her friend that passed away, that committed suicide. She wanted to go back to Japan. She was an ambassador for WWE for about a year during COVID. Once her contract expired in 2021, she went back to Japan full-time and started wrestling for Stardom, became the first IWGP Women's Champion. And then Sasha Banks happened. And they decided that they couldn't pay two people the amount of money they were paying Sasha Banks, and they figured that they could get a lot more mileage out of Sasha than they could out of Kairi Sane, so she felt slighted. She felt slighted to the point where she is now going to be heading back to WWE. She has a couple more
New Japan
bookings.
dates.
Yeah, she has a couple more booking dates that she needs to take care of, but they're saying that we're going to be seeing Kairi Sane, yo ho, 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 back in the WWE. But again, the booking decision of Sasha Banks, of Bianca Belair winning the championship from Asuka just to drop it to Io Sky immediately right after made no sense. Am I missing something here, Jay?
The only thing I'll give for that is the Money in the Bank is supposed to just whenever opportunity knocks, you take it and you get your victory. So, in general, when it's been the women's Money in the Bank, a lot of times that's been pretty close to when they won the briefcase.
Except for Carmella.
Right. Duh.
Carmella held the Money in the Bank briefcase longer than every other woman who has won Money in the Bank combined.
So if you're talking about the randomness of cash-ins and finding your opportunity, it's okay. But, you had kind of built a little bit of a thing between Io and Asuka. Now, this isn't saying that you can't go in that direction, because Asuka could rightly say, hey, I just lost the title, I need a match. And she would have some sort of right to do that, even though she was the one who lost in the match to Bianca. So is this setting us up for another triple threat match?
Oh, God.
I have nothing against triple threat matches, but if you're just continually doing them because, oh, wait, exactly. Because, hey, we need to get more women over. Or we need to get more women on the card. There are better ways to do this.
I will say this. As baffled as I was of the reason that for what they did with Bianca winning and then dropping the title immediately right after, and I'm beyond happy that it was past my daughter's bedtime so she didn't have to watch Bianca win the title and then lose it 75 seconds later, because she would have done to my TV what I want to do to the TV after Roman beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania a few years back. But I will say this, as upsetting as I was about that, if Charlotte had won and then dropped the title immediately right after, I definitely would have broke my television.
If that would have happened,
I would have cleaned it.
Yes.
Oh, I broke it clean.
Wait. But that would have been one of those booking things. Like, I mean, that was a clear, like, okay, that wasn't Vince. Vince would have said, "Hey, pal, let's get her another title reign, but let's have it last 75 seconds, pal."
Oh, yeah. If Vince was not having spinal surgery, then Charlotte would have won that match and be at 15, and then the internet wrestling community would have went nuclear.
And this just goes all in. See what I did there? With Vince, with the spinal surgery. He's even trying to showcase that he's not booking, but he's going to show up in court in a gurney before Stone Cold comes and hits him with a bedpan. That poor man who had spinal surgery got absolutely beaten and abused by Stone Cold Steve Austin with a bedpan before having to, deal with Mr. Sacco.
I'm going to say, Jay, that's going to be one of his character witnesses. I'm going to call Mr. Sacco, pal. And it's going to be funny because Mick Foley's going to go in there with the fucking sock on his hand, and they're going to be like, "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" Mr. Sacco says he does.
I bet they'll even bring in Nurple.
Oh, God. That was the clown I sent away that was trying to have the party at my job a few years back. I'm sorry, Nurple. You got to go bye-bye.
Yeah, so there's that. Another injury update that I want to talk about is one of the GOATs, R-Truth. R-Truth posted an update. It looked like he was at the PC and is starting to get back into the ring for a comeback. The dude is like 50 years old. Last we saw him in incredible shape and still a solid performer in the ring, and nobody can touch the dude with comedic chops.
No.
No one.
He made Brock Lesnar break character.
Brock Lesnar enjoyed working with him so much. Like on the time that they randomly ended up interacting, that Brock Lesnar requested to work with him again. I loved when he swerved the whole audience and said he was going to throw Paul Heyman out of the Royal Rumble.
"I'm going to wrestle in the Royal Rumble, and I'm going to throw you over the top rope, Paul Heyman." Oh, man, that was again, the summer of Punk cost us the summer of R-Truth in 2011. You can't change my mind.
Sad.
There you go. There's the guy who could beat Gunther. Let it be R-Truth. He's a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Why the hell not?
He's a several-time 24/7 champion, a hardcore champion, a United States champion, a tag team champion.
That U.S. title win he had was the most random, ridiculous thing because he pinned, I think it was Nakamura. He pinned Nakamura, and then they counted 3, and they kept, trying to wrestle. They were like, what the hell? Did the match just end?
Right.
I will never forget that. That's just one of those things I will never forget in all the years I've watched wrestling. That and him coming out as dressed as a Confederate soldier in Richmond, Virginia, right down the road.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Cousin Jay, what is the old acronym that a lot of people say, or the old saying? I don't know if it's acronym or not. Bristol Eastern education. If life hands you lemons, what do you do with those lemons?
You make lemonade.
That's exactly what Triple H said about the situation in regards to Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch getting booted from the SummerSlam card, and he told them to use it as a opportunity, like when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, and take the best of your opportunity next. Basically, you talk about this coming up Raw, where the two of them will finally have their blow off of the feud that should have happened at SummerSlam. To the point that Becky Lynch was out doing commentary during what the hell was her name? The Zoe Stark's match, and she had a glass of lemonade with her. And then she did the thing where she drank the lemonade and spewed it out like Triple H used to do. Thoughts?
I appreciate the rebel attitude.
Same. And I'll tell you right now, I bet you any money Triple H even appreciated the jab she threw at him, because at the end of the day, I don't think it was that offensive. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a really nice rib that she did, or little point that she made.
It's kind of like a Bud Light version of what Cody did with the throne.
Yeah.
But, it's like Triple H during the press conference after SummerSlam said, oh, yeah, well, that match was not, ever part of it. That was never one that we officially announced for the card. And as much as I hear that, I'm going to also call bullshit at the same time. You teased that as a thing that we're going to do, and you're getting these two extremely prominent performers.
Two of the all-time greats.
And you're leaving them off the card. I'm pretty sure part of Trish coming back, the big idea was not for her to, be left on the sidelines for the biggest shows of the year. I understand you felt the need to have Ronda and Shayna be on this show because this was Ronda's, at least for the time being, last ride with the company, and you're trying to maximize what Ronda can do for Shayna going forward. And I'm sure the thought is, well, you know what? Becky and Trish are already over. We don't need to help them. We need to help Shayna. I could see that line of thought. I really can. But you're telling me that Roman Reigns' entrance couldn't get cut down to 3 minutes? That we couldn't have taken a couple of minutes away from Ricochet and Logan Paul? Couldn't have taken a couple of minutes away from a few other matches to be able to get the blow off to this feud at the second biggest show, at least what they consider to be the second biggest show of the year?
I think it's the Royal Rumble. Of course, I think
it is too, but
I also think
because of how close it is to WrestleMania, I'm sure that I'm sure most of them internally see Royal Rumble as the second biggest show. Even so, because it is several months out from WrestleMania, where it feels like, well, it used to feel more like the halfway point between WrestleMania and the next year, but now that SummerSlam comes earlier in the month of August than it used to, maybe not so much.
Let's just say they came out and said that the reason that Trish and Becky got bumped from the SummerSlam was because LA Knight, they wanted to do something with LA Knight because they were tired of people crying. What would the fans do? Oh, well, we lost Becky and Trish, but we got what we wanted. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, kind of, so to speak, in this type of situation. Because Triple H has said before, he wants the quality, not the quantity of matches. And if the fans, because, honestly, the thing just kind of popped up. It's not like they were booking this whole battle royal with Slim Jim, like they were talking about it, over a month ago. No, the things kind of happened like over the last week or two before SummerSlam. They've been teasing. Basically, what I'm saying is they've been teasing Becky and Trish at SummerSlam longer than this whole Royal Rumble was even talked about. And it's possible that they don't want to say that because they don't want to upset fans. Like, yeah, well, you wanted Trish and Becky, but you also wanted LA Knight to have a moment. You can't have both.
Right.
Although it is a lot easier just to blame that freaking shit show that actually scored a lot lower rating on Dave Meltzer's rating than the actual Battle Royal.
Yeah.
We had to watch that. Shayna Baszler gave me nightmares for 3 nights after she came out to the ring. Yeah. It was not pretty. She looked like I'm not even going to get into it. I'm going to be nice.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought that was a nice. I thought it was nice. Not really nice, but I thought it was a really interesting gesture that Becky Lynch made the reference with the lemonade. I thought it was a nice touch, and I had no issue with her doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate her doing that and sticking up to the boss.
Yes. Not the
All
one
right,
with back surgery.
Right. So another thing regarding SummerSlam is AEW Collision went up directly against SummerSlam. Everybody and their mother knew that this would affect ratings in some way, shape, or form. Even the fact that Jake Paul was going against Nate Diaz, man.
I like Nate Diaz and shit.
In the same night, there's some crossover of fans.
Yes.
Holy shit, Batman. Collision's ratings took a nosedive.
How bad were they?
Almost cut in half.
Wow.
We went from 2 weeks ago, 739,000 to 417,000 last week. A lot of competition there. I know Tony Khan put a couple of title matches on that show to try to compete with that. It's like back in the day when Clash of the Champions was something to be like on free TV to go against the pay-per-views that WWE would have. Big difference is back then pay-per-views were like $20 or $30, which was a big freaking deal back in the 70s, or I should say 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Versus
today where you pay $5 for Peacock. Like, that ain't too big of a deal. And you're talking about, again, what's perceived as the second or third biggest show of the year in WWE going against your show that's on free TV. But most people don't see that $5, or I think at this point it's $6 for Peacock, as like, hey, I'm going to watch SummerSlam over watching Collision. 412,000 or 417,000 people is not anything to sneeze at.
Still better than
certainly
Rampage.
Not close to 750,000.
Yeah. And I feel, who I feel bad for is Ricky Steamboat.
Right.
Because they dragged him into that match to be the referee in CM Punk versus Ricky Starks.
Dragged him.
I see what I didn't do that I did there. And I really did. I felt bad, but come on. You had Tribal Combat or whatever the hell it was called. You had Gunther. You had Logan Paul. I don't know what they even. Yeah.
Lesnar.
What do you think people are going to be watching? Logan Paul or freaking
LA Knight?
or some jabroni on freaking Collision that's not CM Punk or FTR or Juice Robinson or Juice Robinson. I'm sorry, I got to make sure I respect where respect is due for Juice Robinson. He's been killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned SummerSlam. And I was going to go full Stugotz on this one because I got a very, very special top 10 list this week.
Okay.
To the point where I was actually going to go full-fledged hot take diva on this one. Because this week, and I think I'm going to do this for all the major WWE pay-per-views.
Yeah.
My top 10 hot takes from SummerSlam 2023. I will not be putting on the makeup and the dress and laying across my futon as much as I wanted to. But here we go. Number 10. I was upset about Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus getting left off of SummerSlam, but the look of Ronda's face as Shayna Baszler choked her out helped me forget that abomination of a match was actually on the card.
Yeah.
Number 9. I'm not saying SummerSlam was anticlimactic. I'm just saying I agree with Dave Meltzer.
Wow.
There was not a really good ratings match. Jimmy and Roman barely broke 3 stars. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Number 8, Logan Paul. As much as I thought I couldn't hate you as much as I already did, the fact that you hit Ricochet with the brass knuckles proved that I was once again wrong. I can't actually hate you more than I already did. Number 7, more tension in the Judgment Day? The tension is so thick, it's spooky. Number 6, Jimmy turned on his brother Jay in the main event at SummerSlam. I guess you could say that Jimmy wasn't feeling very oozy about Jay being the tribal chief. Number 5, I've never, and I emphasize the never, where I underlined it, I never in my 35 plus years of being a wrestling fan, I have never wanted to see someone as world heavyweight champion than I do with Gunther. I've said it since he showed up at NXT TakeOver Blackpool. That man is the guy you strap the rocket to and shoot him to the moon for the next decade. And that
Speaking of strapping to the moon, Santos Escobar got injured at the beginning of SmackDown, and Tim is questioning whether or not we get a certain superstar, megastar, to be the replacement for Santos Escobar in the match against, your favorite douchebag on the...
I've got a theory. This guy stinks. Yeah. Is that enough?
What do you think about that?
If after what I asked you earlier about LA Knight, everything to be, if he wins the United States Championship and is the one that beats Austin Theory, does he earned enough to become Wrestler of the Year?
It could be the start of his ascent.
I'm going to say it right now. If he's the one that ends up replacing Santos Escobar and beats Austin Theory for the United States Champion, the man who beat John Cena in the shittiest match in WrestleMania history, I will guarantee you this. It will be locked up, sealed, and delivered. Marquee Awards, Brainless Ones, Wrestler of the Year, LA Knight. Let me talk to you. Yeah. Number 4, where the hell was Dwayne?
He has nothing to do. He's just hanging out with his horses in Charlottesville.
I can understand Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, but where the fuck was Dwayne Johnson?
Maybe he's been having some purple haze with Cousin Colin.
Ah, there it is. That's the only reasonable explanation I will accept. Yeah?
Yeah?
Number 3, Bianca winning, then getting cashed in on by Io Sky was just as baffling and disappointing to me as when CM Punk returned to WWE with the WWE Championship 1 week after walking out of Chicago with the WWE title. There's such a thing as lazy booking. That's just stupid booking. Number 2, kudos to Brock Lesnar for endorsing Cody Rhodes after their match at SummerSlam. It's a surefire way to get Cody Rhodes over and be the one to finish his story whenever the hell that is. And the number 1 hot take from SummerSlam from the brainless one, 2 letters in a word, L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got to say. L.A. Knight.
All right. Tim says, now I want to see LA Knight as the U.S. champ.
So do I.
Yeah.
Because that pop he's going to get when he beats Austin Theory is going to be absolutely crazy.
I hope they don't punish him like they did with Zack Ryder.
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
All right. You know, we did bring up CM Punk. CM Punk for Samoa Joe has been announced for All In. All In, which did surpass SummerSlam 92 for tickets sold and is now the biggest gate in UK history until WrestleMania is there in a couple years. Let me talk to you. Yeah.
Between that, the fact that they're flirting around with FTR and the Young Bucks, and it looks like that's going to be the tag team title. I'm sorry, the Hardley Boys and FTR for the titles at All In. It looks like we're definitely getting Adam Cole, baby, versus MJF for the AEW Championship. I was curious to see what the shoe was going to drop in regards to CM Punk. If they're going to give me CM Punk and Samoa Joe, that may be something that I'm going to have to go out and like sell blood or something to make sure that I can get money for All In, because that is right there worth the $50 right there. Unless my theory of what they're going to do with the women's championship is correct, and if that's the route they go, I would never buy another AEW pay-per-view again.
Yeah.
They announced that they're going to do the Fatal 4-Way for the women's title at All In. They have 3 of the 4 women being determined for this match. Now, this is like, I know we talk about WWE's booking, and I always try to give AEW the benefit of the doubt. This one takes the fucking cake. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're going to do a Fatal 4-Way match. 1 woman gets a bye, and 3 other people that get determined for it are going to be fighting in singles matches. Hikaru Shida, who is defending her championship, does not have a bye. Toni Storm gets the bye. So not only does Hikaru Shida wrestle in a match where she is at an absolute disadvantage as champion, because anytime you add more than one other opponent for our champion in a match, the odds are not in their favor. And if you ask Scott Steiner, he'll tell you that the numbers don't lie.
Yes.
And Hikaru Shida, after wrestling in a qualifying match, is going to have to defend her title if she even makes it. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. So that means that her qualifying match, she's going to win. And it is the most predictable thing on paper, because they're going to do Toni Storm versus Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker versus Saraya. And I'm telling you, Jay, if they put the title on Saraya at Wembley, sorry.
That sounded like Chunk and Goonies.
And I pointed over the side, and there were all the people in the audience.
And everybody was throwing up.
I never felt so bad in my entire life. I'm starting to love this kid, Mom. Top 10 will never get kicked out of my top 10. Goonies.
Yes. So another thing with AEW, we did get RVD against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I'm sorry, Dylan McKay.
Yeah. I hate the fact that I still know that theme song.
RVD looked good. Jerk off Jungle Boy agreed. RVD looked good, and we got a screwy finish, and I don't think this is the last we're seeing of the cannabis supporting RVD in AEW. I think I'm sorry, not Nick Khan, Tony Khan. We'll keep him around because I think they're going to enjoy some drugs together.
Oh, yes. And I'll tell you right now, Rob Van Dam in his 50s wrestling against Jungle Jerkoff is not something I wanted to see in 2023. I mean, like I know we talked about this before. I mean, what's next? Are they going to bring in Sabu, Raven, the Sandman, fucking Spike Dudley? Oh, there you go. Spike Dudley's going to be the one because he's got nothing better to do. Tommy Dreamer. Ugh.
Spike Dudley allegedly is retired from professional wrestling.
The Blue
Speaking
Meanie.
of the Dudley family, though, the Dudley family will be making their appearance known and be a big thing on Impact Wrestling's 1000th show, which is coming up next month in New York. It will be the first time in 7 years that we have seen the Dudley boys, but in Impact Wrestling, known as Team 3D, making an appearance together.
Greatest tag team to grace God's green earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not up for debate for me. I'm sorry. Multiple time champions. They won everywhere they were. And honest to goodness, neither one of them was as big of a piece of shit as Hawk.
That's true.
I'm sorry. I lost a lot of respect for the Road Warriors after finding out that Hawk was an absolute shithead. I'm sorry. And I loved the Legion of Doom. I did. They were my favorite tag team. They were my favorite tag team for a long time until Bubba Ray and Devon entered my life. Yeah.
All right.
But honest to goodness, I'm glad to see Devon and Bubba Ray are going to reunite for the first time in 7 years. This is going to be great. I'm curious to see if Devon, because I know he kind of like retired from in-ring competition and took like a producer's role with WWE. I'm curious to see if this means that we're going to see him get back in the ring and we're going to see some tables getting broken.
I think we might see it for like a night, but the information out there is that at some point in the past few years, Devon had a stroke. And I think that's why, we haven't seen Devon make any more appearances. Devon said, yep, my days in the ring are through, and he didn't really state exactly any reason why.
Right.
Just said, hey, injuries have mounted up. I just can't do it anymore. But I think it was Bully Ray specifically said, oh yeah, he had a stroke a couple years ago.
That's unfortunate. It doesn't. I mean, hopefully he's got enough just to lift up somebody to put him through a table.
Right. Do
I just
with 3D.
I need a 3D to a table. That's all I need. I don't ask for much from Impact. I just want a 3D through the table.
Yeah.
And I still remember the Royal Rumble they had a few years back where the Miz ended up through a table with Bubba Ray and R-Truth.
Yeah, R-Truth was playing Devon.
My second favorite variation of two people putting somebody through a table with the 3D after Devon and Bubba Ray.
So along with Team 3D showing up at that show, we're going to have Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and Awesome Kong also making appearances on that show. Clearly with Velvet Sky, her and Bully Ray are a thing. Velvet Sky doesn't do as much wrestling these days, but she and Angelina Love, as part of the Beautiful People, were a big deal when Impact Wrestling was at its peak.
Beautiful people. The beautiful people. Oh, Paul from the Wonder Years, how you have transformed into one of the most nostalgic singers of the 90s. JK, but everybody heard that rumor.
Yes. It was Paul Pfeiffer.
And the fact that he removed one of his ribs to suck his own, you know what?
Right.
That was the other one.
Yes.
This was pre-internet, and everybody knew that as a rumor.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
All right. Let's see. Nick Aldis, who recently was on Impact Wrestling, it sounds like he is going to be a producer for WWE. I think Aldis always wanted to be a performer for WWE, and quite honestly, probably should have had opportunities to become a performer in WWE. I think Brother Love is a big reason why we never got that.
Are you saying that Bruce Pritchard doesn't love you?
Yes. It was all a gimmick. It was all a gimmick. Wasn't real.
His Brother Love was for Vince McMahon.
Yes. But Nick Aldis, with all his years of experience coming in as a producer for WWE, ain't such a bad thing. He was a solid performer. And quite honestly, I think he could still go and give you a few years. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in some matches in WWE at some point.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised either. And my favorite part about the producers and all the guys who work backstage is that they're all sitting there in suits, and when there's a fisticuffs out in the ring side area and they have to break it up, the producers are going to be the ones that have to break it up. I just want somebody to try to throw around Nick Aldis like they do to freaking Jamie Noble. Because it ain't going to end very well for that person.
Right.
Unless it's Brock Lesnar.
I mean, it ends well for Brock Lesnar all the time with that.
Yes. Just ask John Cena.
Yeah.
And The Undertaker.
Playa.
And Triple H, where Triple H peed himself.
Yes.
And then gave us one of the shittiest matches at WrestleMania, outcome-wise.
Sad.
No, not Triple H. That's never happened in a Triple H match. It's not like he should have put over Chris Jericho at WrestleMania or anything, or the fact that he should have put over Booker T
or Sting
or Brock Lesnar. Yeah, we believe that Triple H is going to beat Brock Lesnar in his return to WrestleMania. Don't get it. Just like AEW pay-per-views. I don't get them.
Sad.
Well, they're $50 too.
Right. All right. Do you believe what we saw at SummerSlam is going to lead to a brother versus brother WrestleMania match?
I think we finally get Jimmy versus Jay, but I don't think it's going to happen at WrestleMania. That seems like, especially when they pulled the trigger the way they did, I don't know how you can drag out another thing until WrestleMania. I know that this has been their dream where the two of them want to wrestle each other at WrestleMania. Maybe down the road, if you could turn this into like a long-standing rivalry, if this is a one-off thing, it's going to happen probably after India, maybe Over the Limit or whatever the hell the next pay-per-view is. No Mercy, Judgment Day, TLC, Great Balls of Fire, Extreme Spooky Bells, Extreme Rules, Clash at the Castle, Cyber Sunday,
Night of Champions, Greg the Bunny,
yes. I do think we're going to get it. If they could probably find a way to have it like a trilogy type of thing and have it culminate at WrestleMania, then yes. I don't see them waiting this long, especially because they pulled the trigger when they did on turning Jimmy versus Jay. And I'm curious to see what happens with Jimmy Uso tonight when Roman Reigns has his celebration at the fact that he's still the tribal chief and the champion. Because are we
I
going
got a couple of questions on my mind. Not that Vince or Triple H would give two shits. Why didn't you give the Hardy brothers a match at WrestleMania? Why didn't the Rhodes brothers get a match at WrestleMania?
To be fair, I could understand why they didn't want to do the Hardys because that means that Matt Hardy, and at that time, Matt Hardy was just garbage. To the point that if I really could go back and look at my old Twitter account, my original Twitter account, and saw some of the shit that I was posting, yeah, that would mean that those two would have to be in a match at WrestleMania. They definitely screwed the pooch by not having Cody versus Goldust at WrestleMania, especially after the match that they had at All Out, at Double or Nothing. That incredible match between the two and one, probably the best match in AEW history. I think that they dropped the ball with that. The thing with the Usos, I mean, it was going to happen, but you can't make the same mistake over and over again. And you have blood feuds that you could do with actual blood relatives and have it culminate at WrestleMania, then you got to do it. You don't pull the trigger on that. My biggest thing is what happens with Jimmy Uso is what he did to his brother at SummerSlam because he wants to rejoin forces with Roman, or he's never left Roman's side? Or is it like, no, Roman, this isn't between you and I. This isn't about us. It's about me and my brother. Because my brother didn't like me being the tribal chief and then tried to take over as the tribal chief. So why does he got to be main event Jey Uso and I got to be DUI Jimmy?
Bro.
But that's my big thing is how is this going to all unfold? What are they going to do with Jimmy Uso tonight?
Bro.
And honestly, and I just realized that Paul Heyman made the bottom of the third reference. Did we take into account that the reason Paul Heyman said that is because the Red Sox are we talking about a regular bottom of the third inning or a Red Sox Yankees bottom of the third inning?
Yeah, if it's the bottom of the third of Red Sox Yankees, we're talking like we've got another 12 innings.
Jay, I haven't watched a game all season. I've boycotted the Red Sox because I do not want to support a team whose general manager is Kane Bloom, and he makes me look like a fucking genius. But I do know that earlier this year with the pitch clock, the Red Sox and Yankees actually played a baseball game in less than 3 hours.
Oh, breaking news. Chris Brown says Edge is here a week early. On the day I declare, yeah, has come to life. I can't wait till Scott Stapp sings that song at the Creed reunion. On the Cruise of Jericho. Oh, wait, no, that's the Cruise of Creed.
Oh, boy.
I hope they have Creed from The Office on there.
It's the only way you're going to get people other than Jeff to show up for the Creed cruise. Oh, wait, you're going to be there, too. So, other than you two, you guys can have you guys in Creed.
Carry higher? Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got something that's going to take me higher, but it ain't going to be Creed. Unless it's Creed Pratt, and then we have a conversation on our hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Edge Wise is Adam Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Brainless one, do you have anything else on your list that you want to get into?
I have touched base on all of my notes for this evening, Cousin Jay. What about you, sir?
I think the only minor thing left I have on here, Izzy Moreno, the Bayley superfan, is officially making her pro wrestling debut very soon at Mission Pro Wrestling's Boiling Point show in San Antonio. Good for her. You start off as a young wrestling fan. Everybody who was a wrestling fan did wrestling maneuvers to whether it ended up being a friend or family member or just a random piece of furniture hanging out by, would do whatever wrestling move there was to it. She has clearly been a wrestling fan her whole life. And she's actually going to get the opportunity to step in the ring. Whether or not she becomes a big deal in the industry, I don't know. Probably not. But good for her for chasing her dream, clearly a lifelong dream. She's not that old, but the fact that she's having her first wrestling match, good for her.
Yes, I think it's great that she's following her dream and everything. I once dreamed that I wanted to have a squash match against King Kong Bundy, where all it was the bell would ring, he'd run into the corner, squash me, and then do the splash, and then 1, 2, 3, avalanche, splash, 5 count. That's all I wanted, and I'm never gonna get that.
Rick.
You can ask almost anybody that I worked with at FedEx. They know I said this. Talked about it for
On
years.
this podcast.
I've actually talked about it on this podcast that I wanted this moment. Yes.
You
There is
said that if you won the lottery, you were going to pay him so much money to have the match against you, and you were going to pay Vince McMahon a bunch of money to put the match on the WrestleMania card.
Yep.
So you could break the record that was set by Kane and Chavo Guerrero at WrestleMania.
So now my
in that ECW title match that lasted 8 seconds, that beat the SD Jones versus King Kong Bundy match at WrestleMania 1.
Yes. Greatest match in WrestleMania history. SD Jones and Bundy at WrestleMania 1.
I bet it got 5 stars from Meltzer.
0 stars because it wasn't long enough.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. Good on her, though. I'm glad that she's going out there and going to try. This is exactly what happened with Roxanne Perez. This is what happened with Cora Jade. This is what happened with Edge. This is what happened with a lot of people. Mick Foley was a wrestling fan sitting in the crowd watching Superfly Jimmy Snuka fly off the top of the steel cage.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. You never know what can happen. It could catch on quickly. It can't be any worse than Frank the Clown.
Yes.
Or the Snooki.
Yes.
Yeah?
She actually could perform in the ring.
She was a top 5 WrestleMania performer for celebrities if we're not counting Bad Bunny.
Right.
Because he was just leaps and bounds better than everybody else.
Logan Paul.
Well, Logan Paul, I mean, I kind of expected that from him, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logan Paul pulled double duty last Saturday, showing up to his brother's boxing match against Nate Diaz, man, in his wrestling gear. He was more Brock Lesnar than Brock Lesnar.
He went.
Brock Lesnar stayed and shook Cody's hand. He should have just left the ring, got on his private plane, and gone back to Saskatchewan, but he didn't.
Have sex with Sable.
Logan Paul was more Brock Lesnar than Brock Lesnar.
Well, we all know that Brock Lesnar went home to have a threesome with Sable and a grizzly bear.
Yes.
And the grizzly bear was the one in danger.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect segue for us to get into our good, our bad,
and our brainless.
So what do you got for your good this week, Cousin Jay?
You know, there were a lot of good, medium good, and pretty good things that went on this week. But LA Knight finally had a moment to shine. LA Knight deserved the moment to shine. Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
My good this week goes to LA Knight. It goes to WWE finally doing the right thing. Finally doing
Finally.
the right thing with him. So,
I really wanted to give it to him, especially after he won on Saturday.
yeah.
But then something happened later on that has warranted getting my good. And my biggest rule, what have I said almost a lot of weeks on this thing? Nobody, and I mean nobody, is excluded from good, bad, and brainless.
Yeah.
So I'm giving my good this week to my wife, the brainless wife. And I'll explain why. Cousin Jay, I have been on DraftKings for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you can definitely confirm to people is that DraftKings would do a WWE pool for free, usually with like a $5,000 or $10,000 pool with 30,000 people in it or some shit like that. I can't tell you the amount of times I actually filled out one of those things to win no more than 96 cents, like I did at, I think it was Money in the Bank. I had Nicole do the DraftKings for the main event of Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. This beats the horse racing thing, Jay. Nicole went 8 for 8. And I won $22.
You could take that $22 and turn it into a WrestleMania ticket tomorrow.
But I just thought it was funny that after all those freaking contests I did, all the research, all the years that I've been watching this shit, and I had her do it and she won it. So, Nicole, you get my good for this week. FN Marks Hall of Famer, Nicole.
Yeah.
Gets my good for this week.
Right.
What do you got for your bad?
I'm going to go with the women's tag team champions in WWE. Every time, whether it's Sonya Deville or Chelsea Green, and it seems like good things are starting to happen, other things happen, which screws up whatever push was going on. I hope they're able to take what's going on in this moment with Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville and turn it into a positive for Chelsea.
Yeah,
she has
me too.
been really dealt a lot of crappy things in her career. She's still very young, has a long way to go. But like both her and Sonya, like, damn. I hope they catch a break. Damn.
I agree. I have Sonya Deville as my bad for this week. The fact that she tore her ACL right after winning her first championship in WWE after 8 years, after performing on Tough Enough with Chelsea Green, I felt so bad for her. I had to give her my bad for this week.
Yeah.
I really did. Because I've really enjoyed them as a tag team. I was so happy that they won the titles. And it's not just because I like Chelsea Green. I am also a fan of Sonya Deville. I've been a fan of her since she was Dario down in NXT. So that she gets my bad for this week just because I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
What do you got for your brainless?
I have to reach for the main event of SummerSlam. This is, again, perceived as the second biggest show of the year. And whether or not, for me, it's not whether you send the fans home happy with a smile on their face. It's more of feeling satisfied of whether it's a conclusion or ongoing storyline. The storyline that we got on Sunday just felt like retread, rehash, and could have been way better. Nothing against the performers in the match, but all the booking of it. You know, you call this thing tribal combat. And you didn't make it feel any different than a regular no DQ match, really. I think they could have added some different flourishes to make it feel different than the other stuff. It just felt like you've been doing this storyline for almost 3 years, and you took the simple, easy path. Luke Skywalker didn't take the simple, easy path. He went against Darth Vader and the damn Emperor.
It's a damn bait.
Yeah. and they could have done so much more with this. Hey, maybe The Rock said, hey, now is not the time. That's okay. They could have done something different than what they did to end this match. Instead of making it feel like we have been down this road before. This storyline, which was white hot going into WrestleMania, even was white hot going into SummerSlam, I would say.
Yep.
It feels like, all right, you've overstayed your welcome. You either need to come up with something so incredible it reignites this.
Yeah.
Or just move on.
I agree. I'll say this. My brainless for this week. After weeks of teasing the Street Profits joining forces with Bobby Lashley on SmackDown last week, we got a match between the Brawling Brutes and the OC. Before the match could finish, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford got in the ring and wreaked havoc on everybody. It was the first time since the Street Profits were formed where I saw Angelo Dawkins as just as much of a legitimate threat as a singles competitor as Montez Ford. And it's not a slight on Montez Ford. They wreaked havoc. They beat the snot out of them convincingly. And if they didn't have that slight miscalculation on the toss from Dawkins into the toss into Ford with Pete Butch, would have been great. And after they were done, they cheered. The crowd cheered. They stood at the ramp, got all, fixed up and everything, and Bobby Lashley came out. And the fans cheered and started chanting Bobby. Now, mind you, I have no issue with any of this whatsoever. And any other week, this would be, if WWE didn't go in there and screw this really badly and just try to understand this would have been my good any other week. But it gets my brainless. Not because of the fact that they did what they did. It's the fact that WWE put it with the caption, the Street Profits turn heel. I watched it. I rewatched it. I rewatched it again. And instead of me getting primetime Brian Lee leaving the Z-Man hanging like I do on a lot of rewatches of wrestling shows, I did not see in any way, shape, or form where the Street Profits were heels. If they were heels, they wouldn't have gotten cheered after beating the snot out of the OC and the Brawling Brutes, and the fans wouldn't have chanted for Bobby Lashley. So WWE, I don't know if this is something you messed up because it's still there because I watched it again just because I enjoyed it. WWE, for your error or misjudgment on how to post your stuff on YouTube, you get my brainless for this week.
Yeah?
Yeah? So, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous follower, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on whatever the hell they're calling Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the effing Marks. If you like and follow, subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. Oh, by the way, Triple H has offered up WWE as a place for Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg to settle their differences between each other. There was a challenge put out there. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk have agreed, and it sounds like it's going to be combat in a cage. And Elon Musk said it's going to be held on X. Triple H said, oh, by the way, I know about the X.
break it down.
Yeah. So feel free to have the match here in WWE.
I may have to do my top 10 list for next week on top 10 booking matches for that match between Musk and Zuckerberg, where nobody's going to win watching that.
Yes. It'll be better than Nails and El Gigante, I think, by like a nose.
Barely.
And I think it might be a little bit better than Jack Swagger and Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler.
Is it going to be better than the Swagger Swearing Seagull or versus Hornswoggle or whatever the hell it was?
Something like that.
Or when they did
maybe.
Hornswoggle versus El Torito?
Hey, that was a good match.
Good and terrible.
That was great.
Good and terrible.
Anyway, make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you are notified that we are live. And also set up, subscribe to us on Spotify so that if you missed the show, you will be able to catch the show when you're on the road. We'll have it as a video show, or you could just listen to it. Either way, make sure you set up that subscribe, set up those notifications, and that is it.
Yeah.
We have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
Nothing else at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. We have absolutely covered everything. There's nothing left to do.
You're right.
Nothing left to do.
So for episode 320, oh shit! I knew I almost forgot something. Right there, right here, and I'm looking for an action figure. I would kill to find a Curtis Axel action figure. There's a bunch of places that have Lucy's. I would love to find one, but there is one more thing. Today, which happens to be August 11th of 2023, at an astonishing, of course I would flip it over to not see the number, at an astonishing 3,120 days, that man on the screen over there, Curtis Axel, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Bow, 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 bow.
So, for episode 324 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
And the brainless one. Make sure you mic up
with your guac out. See everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll catch you later. Yeah.
Hopefully LA Knight is our new U.S. champion by the end of the night.
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
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 I'll go all night.